And now on to news stories. A new policy just announced by the Department of Homeland Security is leaving many Venezuelan migrants with a lot of uncertainty. The department outlined a new legal entry path for up to 24,000 qualifying Venezuelans. However, under the new agreement with Mexico, Venezuelan migrants who cross into the U.S. illegally will be returned to Mexico. We've got NewsNation border reporter Allie Bradley here now to explain what is causing all of that confusion. Good morning, Allie.
Yeah, good morning, Mitch. So I talked with some Border Patrol agents today who tell me they are now aware of the policy. Yesterday, a lot of them didn't even know that it was in place, but they tell me that there are some Venezuelan migrants here that have crossed over. Obviously, that confusion does exist here in Yuma as well. But when we take you to El Paso this morning, that confusion is even more widely spread as they're seeing more Venezuelan migrants cross into El Paso. So what we can tell you here is they're self-surrendering, obviously, in hopes of continuing their journey. Now, migrants telling Border Report that they were given food and water, but didn't know if they were going to be deported or be able to seek asylum. Most Venezuelans saying they were unaware of any U.S. policy changes. One Venezuelan migrant who was getting ready to walk across from Juarez to El Paso said he set on foot about a month ago and said that he was not planning to stop. Take a listen.
Brother, we just crossed Panama and Costa Rica. I have not eaten in 2 days.
Yeah, so he was adamant about continuing that journey. And according to Border Report, officials declined to say if any of the Venezuelan migrants processed would be expelled. However, we've already seen expulsions taking place in other areas, and Mexican sources also confirming that that is happening. DHS announcing that Venezuelans who enter the U.S. between ports of entry without authorization would be returned to Mexico immediately. Meantime, take a look here at the National Border Patrol Council challenging the legitimacy of this policy, saying, quote, DHS made a big deal about a new program sending Venezuelans back to Mexico. What they didn't tell you, there's a daily cap on how many Mexico will accept. A small percentage of what's actually coming in, they can come right back in once that daily cap is exceeded, calling it basically a PR stunt, Mitch.
Okay, so if there is a limit on how many people that Mexico will allow to come back to Mexico, and there is a limit on how many people the United States will allow into the United States, what happens to the people in between? It's not like they could just live on the wall.
Yeah, so it's still really up in the air, right? As this policy has been announced, it looks more like Title 42, that health code that was put into place under the Trump administration, which is actively trying to be overturned by the Biden administration. So people are calling it an extension of that, saying people will just be returned to Mexico. However, if this cap does exist, I've reached out to DHS to find out if it does and what that cap looks like. It looks more like the Remain in Mexico policy, or MPP, that was actually overturned in August. So a lot of confusion still, even on our end, on how many people they're going to accept in, what that looks like. But Mitch, when you talk about the cap that's allowed into the United States, we haven't really seen that with millions of people being allowed to come into the United States. That cap used to be around 650,000. So now we're looking at more than 2.1 million people that came into the country the last fiscal year. So still a lot of more questions than answers when it comes to this policy.
Yeah, what I take away from that is if it seems confusing, it's because it is. It's not you, it's the policy. Allie Bradley live on the border for us. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation in your cable lineup. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-based, unbiased coverage.